Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of The Fine Print, hosted by yours truly, Tiffany Fine. If you've spent any amount of time in the automotive industry, you know that the things that are happening behind the scenes aren't necessarily written on paper. They're what's in the fine print, which is what this podcast is all about. We're going to go behind the scenes in the dealership world. I have about 15 years of experience in the automotive industry. I've worked my way through management. I've owned a brokerage. I've I've owned a yoga studio, which has nothing to do with the automotive industry, and had successes, and I've had failures. Um, but more than anything, I get to go all over the country and go inside dealerships and help them increase performance, help with their culture, help with leadership, and all the in betweens. And those are some of the things that we're going to talk about on this podcast and my experience with that. And you'll go on the journey with me. And I hope that you enjoy it and you get something from it. We're also going to, throughout time, we're going to have some really cool conversations with some people. That was my favorite thing about starting this. And, I just kind of have to get it out of the way. This is the most uncomfortable thing I have ever done. I Anyone that knows me personally knows I have a very big personality, and I've done public speaking where I've spoken in front of hundreds of people, but I can feed off of the energy of the crowd. This is a very different dynamic, and I was talking to my husband about it last night. You know, I it's been about a week that I've just done recording after recording after recording, and I'm just picking myself apart. And I don't know if you can see this little picture frame that I have in the back. It says "fuck perfect," because as my people out there that are perfectionists, I'm sure you know this. It is, it's brutal, thinking that you want something to be so perfect. And I want to make sure that I can get the listeners engaged. This is completely out of my wheelhouse. As far as social media is concerned, oh my gosh, I just downloaded TikTok for the first time 3 weeks ago. I was late to the party with Instagram, and I've never paid attention to how many likes that I've gotten when I've posted something. And most of my pictures are like my animals. And I was like, oh, they're just really cute, and I think everyone should see them. And that's about the gist of how I've engaged with social media. Another thing that I've always been very conscious of, and I'll just get this out of the way because it'll get my nerves a little undone over here. Uh, I've been very conscious of how social media influences us and how it distracts us from being present in our real life world. So I never downloaded TikTok because I really didn't want to doom scroll. There's so many other things that I would rather do. I have a golden retriever that got cancer, and I would have much rather been present for him and given him all the lovin's and attention rather than sitting on my phone scrolling for hours at a time. So, downloading TikTok and doing all of that so that I can create this podcast and generate an audience and hopefully help people learn things is very much out of my wheelhouse. I don't even necessarily know how I'm going to post this. So I hope you join me on the journey. But throughout this journey, we're going to have conversations with some really cool people. We're going to have conversations with general managers, dealer principals, finance managers, salespeople. We're going to open it up, not just to the dealership world, but we're going to have some venture capitalists on, just really smart people. The idea is we just want incredible stories and things that we can learn from, and I want to learn along the way as well. That's the entire reason that I started this. And just putting it on a public platform just means that we all get to learn at the same time. And then sharing some of my experiences. I wrote out this like script because I wanted to keep myself on track and I didn't want to babble too much. And in the script, it was funny because I had put in there, I've had people believe in me before I believed in myself. And then I reread it and I thought to myself, yeah, that's not true. That's just something that people say. So, that's why I'm kind of going off the cuff here, because I believed in myself before anyone else believed in me. I had the confidence that would blow your mind when I had no reason to have that confidence, but it got me some amazing opportunities. I did mergers and acquisitions when I was 22 years old for a huge corporation in Dallas, Texas. That was incredible. It was funny. At 22, my bosses had homes in the Cayman Islands and all of this really cool stuff. And I was just like this child that was like, what? And I was in charge of helping businesses find manufacturers for their products. And I was finding those businesses through people that they were denied on Shark Tank. And that was an idea that I just randomly came out with at 22 years old. They were like, well, you need to find businesses. And I was like, well, that's going to be difficult. And then I was like, oh, Shark Tank, that's a brilliant idea. Let's go ahead and just contact the people that didn't get funding from them and see if they need funding and if they need their materials, gotten somewhere else. So those are, and I believed in myself so much so that even if I didn't know what I was doing, I was certain that I would figure it out. And that's how I've navigated my career. It doesn't mean that I haven't fallen on my face quite a few times because I absolutely have, but I've been willing to try. Similar to this. I'm willing to try it. Sure, why not? I'm uncomfortable. I'm a perfectionist. I'm wondering if my hair's out of place. I'm wondering if there's a wrinkle in my forehead. Absolutely am I picking myself apart. But at the end of the day, if I'm not uncomfortable, I'm not growing. And I teach that to people on a regular basis. I've had some really cool mentors throughout my life that have helped guide me. It doesn't mean that I wasn't open to learning. I mean, that confidence was coming from a place where I was always willing to learn. And that's why I was so confident because I'm like, no, it's fine. Because if you'll just teach me, I'll just run with it and I'll do the absolute best that I can. You won't find anyone that's going to work harder and figure it out. So I want to encourage anyone that's ever maybe felt like they didn't want to apply for something because they didn't have any history doing it. Um, any of my best friend has a girlfriend of hers that she had met just recently, and she had a hard time standing up for herself as far as she does a catering business, and that catering business gives quotes. And those quotes are based on how many people you're going to have at the event. And then she shows up to the event, and there's a lot more people at the event than what the quote had originally generated. And she just recently, after her and I had some conversations, it was the cutest thing. She had said, I'm going to let my inner Tiffany shine. And she told them, you have more people here. This is going to cost you more money. When in the past, before her and I had actually spoken, she would have just shut her mouth and done the job and not gotten the money that she deserved because people are too scared to ask for it sometimes. And we'll get into some of that and how I've learned and also the consequences that I've paid for having such a big mouth. We'll get into all of the nitty gritty. This is, again, such a new thing for me. I'm really excited. I think I'm more excited to have the guests on. Um, my husband doesn't know this yet, but I'm probably going to have him on. We got in some amazing conversations throughout because we both work in the automotive industry. That's how we met. And we get into some really cool conversations and we get into debates. We get into philosophical debates. And I think we talked for like 3 hours the other night. And both of us, he looked at me and he was like, this needs to be on the podcast. Because it was very interesting. We both have different perspectives, but we also come from different backgrounds. And so does everyone else. So those are the things to look forward to on this podcast. This isn't men versus women. This isn't just automotive. This is a platform that's just open for all success stories, but it's going to be primarily the automotive industry because that's where my heart fell in love with. That is the business that created all the opportunity for me that I have today and has made me the person that I am today. If there's anything that has resonated with you at all, please send it to a friend, suggest that they follow, subscribe, all of the things. I don't know what those things are. We're going to figure out how it is that I'm even going to post this after I'm done here. But as much support as possible and even suggestions, if there's things that you want to hear about, I I want all of the suggestions. I want to get into the day-to-day. We're going to do some car sessions. And that's actually my comfort zone. Sitting here in this room where I know that I'm just staring at myself is extremely uncomfortable. But I was doing some car sessions before and after I visit dealerships. And I think I'm going to take you along that journey. And that's going to be a really fun experience because I think we'll start with what my objective is for that day on why I'm going into that dealership. And then we'll do a recap afterwards of what became of it. Oftentimes, for instance, I went in and a general manager was fired that morning. And then I didn't even know that that was happening. So we had to pivot, obviously. And then we'll do a little recap about what that looks like and the changes in leadership, how the staff adapted to it. If there's a change in a pay plan, I'm usually a part of that, and we'll go through that together. we'll just have a lot of fun with this. Again, please follow me along this journey. I'm really excited for it. And thank you so much. Again, this is The Fine Print, hosted by yours truly, Tiffany Fine.